Alright, in this video I'm going to cover movement. Now I just recently did the video on establishing a guerrilla or resistance patrol base. And I decided maybe I should cover movement as a platoon. You know, how could a guerrilla platoon move up there? A guerrilla platoon or resistance organization is always going to be different than conventional, because we do not have the logistics support a conventional military does. So we have to carry as much as possible with us. And that means we got to provide security for those combat transportations, those combat trains. We also have to provide the people to transport the stuff. Now we can obviously take conventional military formations, modify them as needed. That's kind of what I did here. So we have a 3-squad platoon. Our lead is going to be our first squad. In front of them, say 50 to 100 meters, we're going to have a couple scouts. These will be people that are better at staying hidden and finding stuff out in the woods. They could be military trained, they could be outdoorsmen, you know, avid hunters, people who have really good outdoor skills. They're going to travel 50 to 100 meters in front of us. Then we will have our first squad here, which will be in a wedge formation. One fire team this way, one fire team this way, with the team leader in the lead. He is our point man. Squad leader will be in here. He moves to wherever is needed in the formation. Now about 25 to 50 meters behind them, depending on terrain and the choice by the platoon leader, you'll have our next section of the formation, our second squad. Our platoon leader is going to be at the front of it in the center. We're going to have one fire team on one side, one fire team on the other. We will have the platoons, combat trains in between them. So we have basically a squad column here protecting our porters or carts or sleds, whatever we have here in the center. Now to the side of them you see flankers. This could be just a couple people. Maybe it's a fire team. It depends on the size of the platoon and the security that we think we're going to need. These flankers on either side, they could be pushed more towards the front so they're almost on line with the scouts, or they could be pushed more towards the back, covering back here. The flanker's job is to check our sides for ambushes that these guys may not find. So maybe we'll push every once in a while one team farther up if we think we're coming into an area where an ambush is more likely. We think it's more likely to happen on our right side. Well, we'll push our right flankers up farther, maybe right behind the scouts, but still in front of first squad to check to make sure there's no ambushes over there. Trailing behind second squad, 25 to 50 meters, will be our third squad. Our third squad will be in a V formation. So that way, if they get attacked from the rear, they can concentrate their firepowers going this way and send a team in whichever direction is needed for a react to contact. The platoon sergeant will be traveling with the third squad back here as part of our rear guard. Now this is what we would use in more open type terrain, but obviously not out in the open. If you're going to do this out in the open, you're going to want to really spread people out, increase that spacing between people and between elements in the formation. Now if we get to, we have to close in, we have to close to a file. We get to, say, we got to cut through a ridge line up here. It's a really narrow passage. We can't pass through our extended formation. We close in. First ones through will be the scouts. Check the other side, make sure it's clear. They'll also check the flanks. When they radio back or signal back that everything's clear, first squad goes through. They form up into a file, just standard SOP on that, even in the military. They go through, they get set up on the other side of this obstacle. Or they move farther down into that choke point. Then we're going to send in one of our teams for second squad with one batch of the flankers. And the platoon leader or patrol leader will be with them. Then we will send in our combat trains with our flankers from the other side. Then the remaining fire team from second squad. Then when the turn comes up, it'll be one fire team from third squad, the platoon sergeant and the squad leader, and the remaining fire team. Once everyone gets through that choke point, you open back up into your formation and then continue on as normal. Now there needs to be good communications with our scouts, our flankers, our platoon leader, our platoon sergeant needs to monitor. If we have sufficient radios, then the squad leaders also. And if we really got a lot of radios, the team leaders. But being a guerrilla organization, you may not have enough resources for that. Recommendations: low wattage, limited range radios. I know everyone wants to be able to transmit 100 miles. You transmit 100 miles, the chance of you being discovered goes up drastically. So you want a radio that's maybe a 5 to 10 mile range. A little FRS, GMRS type radio, and that's for platoon internal. But you should have at least one, preferably two, longer range radios. So this would be on the lines of captured military radios. Like the really old Prick 77s, which were retired, the Singars, the ASIPs, which are current issue in the military, and I'm sure they've gone over completely to ASIPs now. It's been enough time since those were introduced. You really only need that long range radio for monitoring for communications from other elements inside your unit, emergency messages from your unit commander. And also when you transmit your sit reps to that company commander. Now, when you would do your sit reps to your company commander, you're going to write up the report, send that platoon RTO, the radio operator, with a fire team and the team leader, maybe even a squad leader. Send them out, say quarter mile away, half mile away, 1 mile away, whatever is determined by the platoon leader to be the safest bet. Get up somewhere nice and high, transmit that short, brief message that gets all the information out as possible. They then relocate, continue monitoring that radio. They monitor that radio to hear what the reply is. Why do they relocate? Because as soon as you transmit, especially longer range, your enemy can track that location very quickly, within a matter of seconds. And if they detect a radio transmission in a particular area, they know it's not them, it's highly likely they're going to start dropping artillery or mortars or rockets on that location. That's one of the reasons why you separate out your main element from that radio, and hopefully you have a second one just in case you lose that radio that went out to do that report. Does that make sense? Modify this formation as needed. Maybe you'll come up with something different. Maybe instead of doing the squad column in the center, maybe you'll go to a big kind of an extended diamond formation. If you have any engineers, put at least a fire team right up there with that first squad, maybe a little bit behind them. And then if there's any additional engineers, they would be with the combat trains in the center, so that they could be swapped out or called forward as needed. Air defense, drone operators, primarily locate them in the center. Only use a drone if you absolutely need to check a particular area out front that you cannot get good eyes on, but you have a very high suspicion that area is occupied by the enemy. And remember, when your drone goes out, do not do a straight line up at your location right to the target and back. Do a circuitous route. Take it out in a loop, zigzag it, and then go up there, check the target, zigzag it a different direction going away, coming back towards you. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot militia movements, always remember, essay-ons.